Enfranchisement is a noun meaning the giving of a right or privilege, especially the right to vote. And what does this have to do with Remembrance Day? Well, for most Canadians who enlisted, there were a number of promises given. They were considered to be citizens, they would receive pay, and their families would be provided for, and upon their hoped for return, there would be some other benefits received. But for Indigenous people who enlisted, there were some different consequences. They were encouraged to enfranchise or sometimes told that they had to. And we'll come back to the implications of that. But on the outset, it looked like you would just receive the right to vote, be finally considered a full citizen, because many were not. And despite a lot of barriers to enlisting, because of systemic racism among many other things, a lot of Indigenous people did enlist. They became sharpshooters, medics, code talkers, and many more through different war efforts over the years. And upon their return home, many found that they had been enfranchised against their will, or that enfranchisement did not necessarily mean a giving of rights, but also a taking away, because enfranchisement in Canada meant losing status. So under the Indian Act would mean no access to treaty rights anymore. And what that would mean for veterans coming home also included not being able to go home to their reservation communities. So imagine veterans unable to go home, losing rights, and also things that were afforded to other veterans that had been promised, like benefits, access to more land, grants to start farms, homesteads, etc., were in fact closed to Aboriginal veterans. It was a real catch-22 in the sense that if one had status, one was considered to be a ward of the state and not allowed to homestead elsewhere. But if you lost your status and in so doing gained the right to vote, you still weren't really considered a full citizen. Even the Legion, which was set up giving veterans a place to gather, receive information on benefits, etc., were banned for most Indigenous veterans. So this is just touching on the surface of things, but what we can do in terms of remembrance is to know that there's also a National Aboriginal Veterans Day on November 8th. We can remember those who signed up and served. We can advocate for good treatment of those who are still waiting for some benefits to catch up. We can visit the National Aboriginal Veterans Monument, which is in Confederation Park in Ottawa. We can use compassion to remember those who served and who's returned home, in some cases with fewer rights than when they left.